Microsoft is fighting hard for the Activision acquisition, making deals almost virtually every single day. And we have an update on Xbox Game Pass with a big first-party Xbox studio finally releasing their game, and another one who may not be releasing on Game Pass. But there's a lot here to talk about, so let's get into it. You guys know who it is. Randall Thor 19, man with the million. How's everybody doing? Hope your day is well. If you guys can do me a huge favor, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if you're new. Let's get right into all the things that have been happening this week. We have Microsoft making deals with virtually everybody, it seems, and then coming out and saying that, well, they're going to fight any negative decision that might happen with the CMA or the European Union when it comes to the Activision Blizzard deal. We're going to be talking about that a little bit later on, but I wanted to start off this video with the most important thing about video games, and that's the games. Yeah, I know the whole Activision stuff has kind of been the big talking point for over a year now, but the most important thing to me, and I assume the most important thing to all you guys, is, hey, I want to play some great games. I want to play some amazing exclusives from Xbox first party. And one of those games finally has a release date. We've known that it'd be coming for some time now, but it was part of those exclusivity deals that PlayStation had with Bethesda before Bethesda was acquired. And yes, Ghostwire Tokyo is finally making its way over to Xbox and day one on Game Pass on April 12th. So in sort of celebration for Ghostwire Tokyo heading to Xbox finally, it's going to have brand new content for the game. So the Spider's Thread update, which is also making its way to the PlayStation 5 and PC, has a bunch of new things that are being introduced. So the main campaign is going to have more areas to explore, such as a haunted middle school. It's going to have a lot of quality of life improvements. The main game story will also feature extended cutscenes, as well as a new roguelike game during which players must navigate a 30-stage gauntlet assembled from over 130 levels, and as you progress, your abilities will become stronger. However, dying during a run will reset players to the very beginning. New enemy types are also being added to the game, as well as some new abilities like Charge Rush and Counterattack. Now, Ghostwire Tokyo was a game that I was quite interested in when it released last year, I believe on March 25th for the PlayStation 5 and PC. Unlike Deathloop, which I played day one, I never got around to Ghostwire Tokyo. Basically thinking to myself, you know what, if I don't play it now, I'll be able to play it next year when it finally hits Xbox. And that day is really soon, next month, April 12th. I know there's been a lot of discussion in the media as well as some influencers, YouTubers out there, and I've talked about it myself about 2023 being a great year for Xbox, or at least having the potential to be an amazing year for the brand. And we're in March right now, and Xbox first party has released a whole bunch of games. You go back to January with Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition, as well as GoldenEye. Not to mention the incredible action game from Tango, Hi-Fi Rush, that everybody just seemed to love and is demanding a sequel from Tango, which I hope they eventually do make. April sees the release of both Ghostwire Tokyo as well as Minecraft Legends. May, we will finally be able to play Redfall, and as we all know, my video last week, Starfield from Todd Howard and Bethesda will be launching on September 6th, and at some point in the future, Forza Motorsport will be releasing as well. I think that'll be hitting around October. And of course, are there more surprises? Rumors abound about Hellblade 2 potentially making it this year. So you have all those big releases this year, including stuff like Season 3 for Halo Infinite and potentially Season 4 3 months from now. Sea of Thieves consistently getting updated and things like that. So it's going to be a big year for Xbox and a huge year for Xbox Game Pass. Now, speaking of a potential first-party studio and a huge IP that may or may not be making its way to Game Pass on day one, depending on if the acquisition closes anytime soon, we had Rod Ferguson, who's basically been in charge of Diablo 4, take to Twitter and basically say that they have no plans to release Diablo 4 on Game Pass. He says, "It's awesome seeing the excitement around Diablo 4 beta and our Wolfpack puppy. We've been getting some questions about Diablo 4 on Game Pass, and I want to let you know we have no plans for that. See you in Sanctuary during the beta early access weekend starting on March 17th. Now, at face value, that does seem like an absolutely huge blow to Xbox Game Pass. I'm sure Rod and the teams over at Blizzard were feeling a lot of questions from Xbox players as well as some PC players about the idea of Diablo coming to Game Pass on day one. A lot of people assume that the acquisition is going to be complete, that if they just hold off and not pre-order the game, that Diablo 4 is going to drop on Game Pass day one on June 6th. Rod Ferguson says that's not going to be the case. They don't have any plans for it, and I guarantee you they don't have any plans for it. Even though the company is undergoing the merger process, they're not owned by Microsoft yet. They have to operate independently, and there's no way Activision was going to be putting a game that huge, one of the best-selling games of the year, on Game Pass day one. So of course, Blizzard has no plans of releasing the game on Game Pass anytime soon. However, Microsoft might have a different plan if and when the Activision deal actually completes. If it completes sometime in May, it does seem likely that Diablo 4 would get added to Game Pass. If it's sometime afterwards, maybe it gets added whenever the deal actually does close. But if the deal closes at some point, whether it's a year from now or whether it's a couple months, I do feel pretty strongly that Diablo 4 will be on Game Pass at some point. Now, for the topic I'm sure everybody is dying to hear, everybody's favorite discussion point, the Xbox Activision Blizzard acquisition. And this week, Microsoft was out there basically saying, you get a 10-year deal for Call of Duty, you get a 10-year deal for Call of Duty, basically trying to do everything they can to negate regulator fears that they're going to use Call of Duty in a very nefarious way to monopolize certain segments of gaming, in particular cloud gaming. Even though these cloud deals seem small in comparison to the deals they struck with Nintendo and Nvidia, they're also equally as important and could do big things to change regulators' opinion about the deal. And even though people have come out of the woodwork and been like, huh? Who's this company? That's the whole point, and they're not really understanding what's going on here. So yesterday, Microsoft and Boosteroid on Tuesday announced a 10-year agreement to bring Xbox PC games to Boosteroid's cloud gaming platform. Boosteroid, which had the software development team in Ukraine, recently surpassed 4 million users globally and has become the largest independent cloud gaming provider in the world. The agreement will also enable Activision Blizzard PC titles to be streamed by Boosteroid customers after Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard closes. When combined with other partnerships recently announced by Microsoft, this means popular franchises such as Call of Duty will surpass more than 150 million additional players and make games built by Xbox Game Studios, Bethesda, and Activision Blizzard playable on multiple cloud gaming services and subscriptions. Quote, "We believe in the power of games to bring people together. That's why Xbox is committed to give everyone more ways to play their favorite games across devices," said Phil Spencer, CEO of Gaming Microsoft. Bringing Xbox PC games to Boosteroid members, including Activision Blizzard titles such as Call of Duty, once the deal closes, is yet another step in realizing that vision. And then Phil announced today another 10-year deal where Microsoft and Ubisoft, which I don't even know if that's the right way to pronounce it, a leading cloud gaming provider, have signed another 10-year partnership to stream Xbox PC games as well as Activision Blizzard titles after the Activision closes. Our commitment is to give more players more choice. Speaking to Wall Street Journal, Brad Smith said, quote, "If the only argument is that Microsoft is going to withhold Call of Duty from other platforms, and we've now entered into contracts that are going to bring this to many more devices and many more platforms, that is a pretty hard case to make to a court." He said any decision on the deal will be subject to judicial review. He also said that Microsoft would be making more deals like this in the future. Now, a lot of discussion I see surrounding these deals is one of ridicule. Who the hell is Boosteroid? I've never heard of them before. What is Ubisoft? Nobody's ever heard of them. In fact, people were making fun of how many Twitter followers they have. Even though that they have produced some cloud games for Nintendo, not a lot of people know who they are. It's basically making fun of like, oh, this is what Xbox is doing. This is just a PR stunt. Like, who are these companies? This is sad and pathetic. But people don't understand. That's the whole point. You see, the CMA and other regulators have made it a cornerstone of their argument that Microsoft could take Call of Duty, keep it to themselves, and basically dominate cloud gaming. And they've used that as one of the theories of harm for why this deal either needs to be blocked or Call of Duty and Activision need to be divested. So in response to this, Microsoft is cutting deals not only with Nvidia, but with lesser known cloud gaming providers, because if you're so concerned about Microsoft having a monopoly over cloud gaming that you've made it a cornerstone of your argument, but then you come out and say, who are these companies? Then you're really not so concerned about Microsoft dominating that whole segment. Like they've said from the beginning, Microsoft isn't looking to monopolize cloud gaming because cloud gaming as a market barely even exists right now. Microsoft wants cloud gaming to be a thriving industry 5, 10, 15 years down the road. So they're more than willing to do whatever it takes to get this whole deal done. They're more than willing to give these cloud gaming providers like Boosteroid and Ubisoft, despite the fact that you can make fun of how small they are, access to Xbox games, Bethesda games, and future Activision as well as Call of Duty titles because they want to see cloud gaming grow. But more importantly, I think, they know that making these sort of deals effectively scuttles and negates any sort of concern the regulators have about Microsoft using Call of Duty as a cloud gaming exclusive. In my opinion, this is pretty smart and could go a long way to changing regulators' opinions on the deal. Because all you really have now is this Sony complaining that they can't lose Call of Duty, and they're making ridiculous arguments about Microsoft introducing bugs into the final levels of the game and how they might jack up prices and all these things. So basically, Microsoft is trying to remove any doubt about the cloud gaming stuff. Everybody's going to have access, and it'll be strictly squarely about PlayStation versus Xbox. So if somebody blocks the deal, whether it's the CMA or the European Union or what have you, the FTC, Microsoft can point to and say, we were going to bring Call of Duty to 150 million more people on Nintendo Switch, Nvidia, and even these small guys, Boosteroid, Ubisoft, and who knows what else. Are you really going to do that to consumers? Because that's what these regulators are supposed to protect. They're supposed to protect you and I, consumers. They're not supposed to protect the market leader. Because that was the exact argument Brad Smith was making in the Wall Street Journal, that if the only argument is Microsoft was going to keep Call of Duty exclusive from these other platforms, but now you're bringing it to all these other platforms, then that's a tough case to make in a court. And basically him saying that any decision on the deal would be subject to judicial review is basically saying, hey, if the CMA blocks this thing, we're going way above them. We're going beyond them. We're going to appeal to a higher authority. Now, I know a lot of this stuff isn't the most interesting, but you guys have been asking me, demanding that I make more content, so I'm going to try to do my best. Let me know what you think about all these things in the comments below. Are you excited to play Ghostwire Tokyo? When do you think Diablo 4 will come to Game Pass? And be honest with me, did you know about these two cloud gaming providers before Microsoft and Phil Spencer talked about it? Because I sure didn't. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit the like button. Please subscribe if you're new. Check out the Patreon in the description below. All that good stuff. Love you guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Later.